Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to RLCS Overtime, your one-stop shop for all things RLCS and Rocket League eSports. I'm your host, Wave Punk. Got a finable carpet, a Cal, the Shogun, and where is Quinn? We don't know. Left him somewhere on a train stop in New Jersey or something. I don't know. We got a Gibbs.
New Jersey, that's where I'm from. That makes no sense. It's so peaceful here without Quinn.
You put now 5 Quins together, you trade them in, and you get a Gibbs. What an upgrade we got.
Gibbs invited him out to New Jersey, and it's like, just here, take this train to the airport. And he just left him there. Good luck getting back.
See you, Quinn.
Yeah, less yelling, but hopefully no less disagreed. I want. This is going to sound like mildly stereotypical, but I want at some point for Shogun to disagree with someone and just be like, "Good day to you," and then when you start to like disagree, he's like, "I said good day."
Now, if you want real British disagreements, every single time someone who I disagree with starts talking, got to do what they do in Parliament.
Is that what they do?
Just completely drown them out. No. Just dip it.
Yeah, okay. That was a joke for all the British fans, I guess.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
North
America. It went over my head, but hey.
We can talk about the British jokes when we talk about Europe. Right now, we're going to talk about North America and what happened in week 2 here. Take a look at the standings. Cloud9 still crowning the top, one of the biggest undefeated teams right now. 3 undefeated teams. G2 Esports and Ghost only haven't played 1 game. So as far as people that have played a lot of games, it's Cloud9 right now. But NRG gets their first loss. We'll talk about that in just a moment here. Crazy stuff right now in North America.
Yeah, we have 3 undefeateds, 3 winless teams right now. So eventually these teams are going to start matching up against one another for some high quality Rocket League, some close games. So far we haven't seen that many close series in North America, but I assume they're coming shortly because the top are going to start battling the top and the bottom are going to start battling the bottom.
Yeah, really it's a case right now of top 6 is an area to fight for, and top 2 are the areas to fight for. This doesn't seem to be like too close in that middle area. It's just 2 very set and distinct groups. Renegade's gonna be happy though. They took this entire week off. They kind of needed it after what was an awful opening week, so hopefully they'll bounce up really good this week coming up.
Yeah, we'll see them next week. Going to be competing against the other teams down there in the bottom. But moving forward to talking about who's hot and who's not here in North America, or who's spicy.
Excuse me,
Gibbs,
who's
why
spicy?
Why is it called Who's Spicy this week?
I have no idea.
You don't.
I've
you
just
totally
been saying
know.
lots of things about spice. James doesn't understand any of it, so
no one understands
I decided to just
any
keep
of
it going.
If it's not edible and in front of him and involving spicy
Gibbs,
food, he doesn't.
Speaking of who's spicy, what's your favorite type of pepper?
Favorite type of pepper? I'm just a simple man, like jalapenos.
What about hot sauce?
Up here.
What about hot sauce?
I'm setting you up here.
So, I
can
see
do
what
it.
he's smart. Ghost peppers.
The Ghost
are my
Peppers, thank you.
favorites.
Ghost right now. Very, very hot team. They defeated
buddy.
NRG this past week here. That one going to game 4, but Ghost able to get the victories there over the 3-time North American champions right now. Ghost doing it in big fashion, coming out in ways we were not expecting. Lethamir tweeting out, "Stop doubting us," in all caps after that game. It was crazy.
To be fair, they've played 1 game. So
yeah, they have, but this is the biggest one.
It is the biggest one, but let's not go all caps yet on my Twitter feed where Classics is throwing me under the bus, Lethamir saying stop doubting us. It's 1 game. Let's calm it down, Ghost.
Okay.
But they are looking really strong,
Okay.
obviously beating the North American champions. Classics had a really good showing. Maybe his first ever in RLCS, so hats off to you, Classics.
Ouch.
Hey, he was throwing lots of shade at me on Twitter, so I'm throwing it right back.
So
Fair enough.
If Ghost isn't the team that's hot for you, who's hot for you right now?
Well, also Cloud9. Cloud9 looks great. Like, even when they're playing not super well during the play-ins in week 1, probably like 50% Cloud9, but they still win. Now we're starting to see like 80%, 90%. We see Torment starting to shoot really well. We see Squishy not making those weird defensive mistakes. And, of course, our boy Shogun, Gimmick, just playing out of his mind.
I love it. Every single time Gimmick plays, me and Gibbs just sit here and just go, "Our boy, our boy, our boy." He's going to do it. He's going to be the best player.
When did he become your boy?
Once I watched him play.
Okay.
And now I was just like, yeah, he knows how to play. He's good at this video game.
Once you
Wow,
thought
you got
he
real
was
high
Squishy
standards
Muffins.
there, Shogun.
I play. Have you seen my standard of teammates throughout my life?
Fair enough.
I was with you last week.
So I was saying with Wave, like once Wave thought that Gimmick was Squishy, that's when Gimmick became my boy.
I like transferred the powers of Squishy.
Yeah.
Like
to be
spread that
fair,
around a
they are
bit.
kind of similar, but not that similar. Sure. So I'll give it to you because it was a long DreamHack
Yeah.
days, so that's fine.
That was a quality mistake. When you walk in, I'm like, oh dang it, I forgot to look at the little message where they told me who we're interviewing, and I actually don't know this person's face, so I'm just gonna have to straight up ask him right here. But you know, Ghosts get the defeat right now. It's Ghosts and Cloud9 are kind of hot right now, but NRG is a team that I've been building them up a lot. This is the team to beat right now. They've done it 3 seasons in a row. What is it with NRG right now? They get this loss against Ghost. Is this what? Talk to me about how big of a deal this loss was for them.
I mean, I don't think it's anything too massive, especially because their mentality the moment they had that loss, when Jacob was tweeting out like, It's how you deal with the losses and bounce back is what makes a truly good team. Because again, if you've watched Rocket League at all these last 3 seasons, now coming on 3.5, anything happens constantly, and it's really, a lot of it turns into mentality. Like, I don't want to give a percentage, but a huge chunk of how a team performs is based on, are they intimidated by their opponents, do they think they can perform, and do they think they're good enough? And you watch just a lot of teams fall to either thinking they're too good or not thinking they're good enough. So I think that's a huge thing for NRG. As big of a win as it is for Ghost, I don't think NRG should really chalk it up to anything too nuts. They're still 3-1. They're still in a great place to just move into playoffs, and they've always been one of the most online consistent teams. So a single win isn't really anything that you should be writing a team off for. But I think Ghost needs to be careful if they let that get to their heads too much. Then they will struggle next week.
I agree, and they bounced back against Rogue later on in the day. And there was a lot of the mistakes that I know you and I, Gibbs, were talking about. Like, we're seeing 2 people back on the back line of the goal, not really, spacing out well on the defense. Didn't seem to have those same similar problems against Rogue. Do you think that they're going to have? Was there any big weaknesses we saw that other teams could exploit moving forward, or was this a fluke for NRG?
So this team's been together for 2 seasons now, and they've never had a perfect league play. So they know how to bounce back from losses. I will assume during the week they will adapt and figure it out. And Jacob will not play with me, so he won't get any bad habits throughout the week. And they will bounce back because they're a team that doesn't even have to finish top 2. They can just make a playoff run. Obviously, everyone wants to finish top 2, so they have the World Championship spot. And they're still in a great spot for it. But they have some big games coming up. They got, of course, Cloud9 and G2 later on in the season. So they need to fix it, but it's not too hard of a fix, I think. I think it's just about being consistent on that day. Because week 1 even, they weren't very consistent. They played Emotion, and they played them pretty poorly. But luckily for them, they were playing Emotion. So they still got the win because Emotion's kind of a little bit lower of a tier. So we'll see going forward, but I expect them to be at the top once again.
Now, one of the other big stories here in North America is Rogue. One of the top 2 teams from last season. They were able to get the automatic qualification for Season 4, and they switched out Turtle for Insolence, and the question has always been, how does Insolences fit into this offense here? And we got to see them in great fashion going up against FlyQuest at the beginning of week number 1. I was impressed with what I saw from Insolences. I had a lot of questions about him coming in, but he definitely showed up to that day.
Yeah, I love actually where they've got him positioned in this squad. They've set him up as the assists guy. It's his job to carry the ball downfield and get it into a position for either Sizz or Matt to come in with a goal, which is a smart idea. Once Genesis started to break down last season and really struggled with actually not even communicating, but also with team play, Insolences used himself as that guy to pick the ball, go for a dribble downfield, and then just do whatever he wanted. Now Rogue are taking advantage of that skill.
We see Matt and Sizz, 2 of the best shooters right now in North America. Sizz has really improved, and Matt has always been there. He's always been in the conversation for one of the best in North America. And that was the problem with Insol of last season. You put it perfectly. With Genesis, too much passive play from Classics and Chrome, so Insolences would do all this work, bring the ball up the field, and then there's no one to pass to. Now, Matt and Sizz are always right there for these passes.
And a lot of times when I was casting them, too, it didn't feel like Insol always knew where to be, and granted, they were able to bounce back from a lot of those mistakes, but it would still happen 5 or 6 times in a single match where I would see Insol thinking like he knows he should be somewhere, and then Sizz or Matt are there. I think maybe just because they've got a lot of muscle memory of working together. I'm like, oh, I know Matt's going to pass it out in the front. I know I can be there. Think Sizz. But Insol's like, well, I was in a place to take that too.
Sure.
So every now and then there's a little bit of a breakdown in communication, but obviously not enough for them to just fully lose games by massive margins. But I think that is something they're going to need to clean up throughout the season, because if that keeps happening, especially as teams get tighter and a little more punishing, they're really going to feel it in the later weeks.
Yeah, and I feel like it's as much on Matt and Sizz as is on Insol when you're having these transitional mistakes. So we've seen a lot, especially in week number 1, we were seeing consistently that they get the clear out, and then all 3 players at the midfield line moving over into enemy territory, and that was leaving them open on the back line. And part of that's on Insol to not be forcing himself. And I felt a lot of the double commits I were seeing were Insol plus one other player, which is you want to kind of look at Insol and be like, it's your fault then because you're the one who's clearly double committing all the time. But it's just as much on the other 2 players to be coordinating. And I think that they're in a good position moving forward right now.
Yeah, right now they look like a playoff team, just probably not top 2. They've lost to the 2 of the big 3 so far. They still have to play G2, I believe. And they're just kind of right where we kind of expected them to be. A lot of people actually had them around 7th, but they are beating those teams on the lower end. So as long as they get one more win, they're probably guaranteed one of those quarterfinal matchups in the regional championships.
Absolutely. So looking over at the other league here for North America, the Rocket League Rival Series. Take a look at the standings and how they look after their few weeks of league play here. Fibian, the team that we were expecting to have in the RLCS, still sitting high and pretty up on top, 3-0. And we also have Invantic doing well, and Radiance, the 3 undefeated teams there. Radiance, formerly set to destroy, got dropped by the org there, or left that org, and now they are here back as Radiance. Premature Superhero Cops also rounding out the top 4.
Yeah, and right now you see Radiance, they haven't dropped by the org, but this has probably been the best I've seen them play in quite a while. No longer that team that sits back, a much more complete rotation. It's a team that's still getting used to it. A lot of very weird mistakes made at times, but they're looking solid. I'm looking forward to seeing them over the next few weeks, see if they can really challenge the Fibians of that league.
Yeah, Fibian definitely looking like the top dog there, and we're excited to see. We're all hoping that they are able to stay in that top 2 in the rival series and compete for that spot in the RLCS that we expected them to have this week, or in this season here. Maybe they'll be there for season 5. But that does it for our recap of week number 2. Looking forward to week number 3 and what games are on the docket here for the Rocket League Championship Series. We'll start off the day with Allegiance versus Renegades. You'll notice Renegades is playing Allegiance and FlyQuest over there on match 5. So the battle of the bottom, the guys going to be trying to get the wins off of each other, differentiate themselves out of that bottom 6, and then also Cloud9 going to be taking on 2 undefeated teams.
I think Ghost against Cloud9, that is going to be the real opportunity to show the world stop underestimating us. And even if they don't take that series, if they can bring that to game 5, game 4, keep those games close, overtime games, then people will stop underestimating them, right? It's like, okay, now you've shown us that you've got the skill, but that series right there is one that I think they should take as heavily as possible, because that will make all the other teams keep an eye out for them and start realizing, like, oh, we really got to worry about Ghost.
My other favorite series of the day is Cloud9 versus Renegades. We had Renegades starting off with not the best opening, and G2 has only played against Renegades. That's their 1 win. So this will be the biggest chance that G2 has to show that they are really supposed to be in that top 2 we're kind of expecting them to be.
And now, plus, every single week, we are getting 6 games per week instead of 5. And all these games look so good because there's so many battles of those winless teams, battles of the undefeated. So we're really going to start to see some separation in North America. Plus, this pick'em week for North America is going to be really tough to call with all these teams so close.
Absolutely. But that will do it for our North American recap. We're going to take a quick break here on Overtime. But when we come back, we're going to talk about Europe. Some crazy things happened. If you missed it this weekend, you'll want to hear what we've got to say about it. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. Just got done talking about North America, and now Europe's on the board. Can't wait to talk to you guys about what happened, because it was bonkers. Wasn't it, guys? Wasn't it bonkers?
I would say it was spicy. Would be my attitude of choice.
There's not a pepper pun in Europe. So
wait,
I'm okay with the puns.
I'll find one.
But it's got to be appropriate.
He can only come up with so many jokes in a period of time.
Exactly.
He has a threshold. It's one good joke per month, and it's just 50 good jokes per weekend, and he already did like 48 last weekend, so.
When he came up with the Ghost Peppers pun the first time during North America, and I'm sitting next to him on the desk as he says it, I'm like, no one can stop us. We're right here. There's no one to cringe at right now.
But you need to check.
Back, North America, the Ghost Pepper stuff's done because that was all North America. Over here in Europe now, take a look at the standings. The team that you'd expect to be at the top is probably not the one that you were expecting to be at the top. It's Method for 4-0. Frontline, the only other undefeated team in Europe right now. Crazy, crazy stuff. The teams we were all talking about, Gale Force, Flipside Tactics, and Team Envy. The teams everyone expected to be in the top 3, filling out 3 through 5 right now.
2 reverse sweeps. That's all I have to say about Method. Never been done in the same day. They just pulled the leftovers times 10. They went absolutely ham this week, and it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, Method right there, 4-0. They've been on the grind throughout the entire weekend and throughout the entire off-season as well. Never a week where they are not playing in some sort of tournament. On the other hand, you see those middle sort of tier teams, less work going in. This is sort of like a complacency starting to happen. Why on earth would you have complacency in Europe?
I'm pretty sure that if I'm leftovers, I just got really pissed about last weekend because my awesome record and cool showing just got buried. In 2 years, everyone's gonna be like, I know who leftovers are, but that Method team.
Yeah. They're like their whole team identity has just been like split in 2 and handed to Method and Frontline. I'm like, here you go. You're the team that got put together from the actual leftovers, and you're the team that reverse sweeps people. And have fun in the RLRS, I guess, leftovers. Like, it's the poor guys down there. They're doing pretty well. We'll talk about them in a little bit. But talking about who's hot or who's spicy, because Gibbs is here, and we wanted to make just one more pepper pun here.
Why not? Let's keep it going.
I miss Quinn.
I mean, is there another team we want to talk about besides Method, or is it just Method right now?
I just want to talk about Method all day. Like, Frontline is still spicy, too, and they didn't even play.
But they didn't play, so.
But it seemed like every team in Europe just not performing all that well except for Method. We see Flipside. They actually came out probably a little bit better than we thought they would, but like this entire week was just Method.
Yeah, it really was. There was a case of every single time Method seemed to have the ball, they seem to be doing something with it. You take a look at that from Metanoris. What a great play that was, but it has been sloppy. A lot of the play has been this season from Europe. A lot of good plays coming out, but a lot of space being given. But when you see those middle tier teams, I mean, we saw Flipside and Envy try and take each other on. You just get the feeling that there's a lack of edge to those 2 squads, and especially when you saw them up against each other. Like an 8-minute game, I think there was like 4 shots taken by either side. It was not something that you would expect from our top squads.
Method also has this cool thing where their name can probably be used in a really fun alliteration phrase.
Oh, dear.
Because Method Madness is the easy one.
Yeah.
I think people had heard that a lot, but there's got to be some other ones. I'm actually going to spend the rest of the segment brainstorming. I'm going to blur them out when I hear them.
Okay.
But
Magical Method?
Magical Method, like Method Machine.
Manly Method.
Manly Method?
He's going to spend the rest of the episode
good
coming
top knot
with them, and then he's going to actually just blurt them all out right now.
Yeah, probably. That's probably what I'm going to do.
I think against Flipside, a lot still got an own goal in. Like, during the play, he's putting up some quality own goals.
So when you reverse
but
sweep,
they still get out. They still come out with a reverse sweep.
Yeah, but when you reverse sweep, that also means you were playing bad for 2 games in both of those series. So there is no team in Europe right now that is playing perfect, but Method is 4-0. So
close enough.
And it was really fun to watch, and we were talking to Carpet about this during the middle of the game. There's my pen. Don't need a pen anymore. Method starts out games 1 and 2, really weak backline defense, just constantly struggling with simple mechanical plays when they're in their own box. I'm trying to make a point about Method right now, and I'm sabotaging myself by throwing pens on the ground.
Someone called this Method Madness.
Oh no!
You could say Missing Method.
There's a method to the madness.
Method, yeah.
Oh my! But then as the series progressed, it got better and better. And by the end, they were playing nearly perfect defense as they got the reverse sweep.
Which is insane, because you don't want to win series where the team is out shooting you, but it seems to work for Method. We see Flipside for 2 minutes in game number 5, just shot after shot, but Method coming up with incredible saves, and then they get 1 counter, and then it goes in, and they win game number 5.
Method marksman.
Exactly.
No? Maybe?
Not bad. We'll give you that one.
So that is not what you want to be doing as Method going forward. I feel like, sure, look, you got away with it this week, but they got to figure out a way to get a little bit more offense going.
It was a really weird fact of Gale Force were just hammering them over and over again, taking the axe over and over every single time. But the cloak and dagger routine coming out. I've been playing D&D a lot this week. It's been great fun, by the way. But they come through, little quick move, get the goal, and they took the wins.
Why wasn't I invited?
Why were you invited?
Probably because you make too much alliteration.
I don't know. If they ever lose, their mangled method, by the way.
He would pull out the method militia and charge at you in D&D.
Oh, yeah, he knows.
Hey, got it there. Anyways, moving on. That was, I don't know what that was. Anyways, so method's in a great place. You guys just silent right now. You guys are hilarious.
Why would we do it for that?
Method's in a great place. Moving completely on from this entirely just train wreck of a moment there. The world champion curse. Okay, the next match we saw, the last match we saw of the day was Flipside versus Envious. These are two world championship teams here. And Flipside comes out with the victory. Envy starts off with the worst record, not the worst. They got 1 win, but they're like 1-2 right now.
Yeah, 1-2.
These guys, talk to me about Flipside struggling in season 3, Envy struggling in season 4 now. Is there a curse here if you win and then move forward?
It seems like there's some complacency, like as Shogun was saying, where like, hey, look, you won the world championship. Let's go spend money for these next 3 months and forget about Rocket League and come back. It's not necessarily the case. I felt like that was more Flipside of last season. Like, Envy is still playing the game, but for some reason, they just can't find these wins. They look completely flat in all 3 of their series, which is very surprising because they bring in Greasy, who was the best player on Flipside Tactics last season. So you think, all right, here we go again, #1 team, maybe #2 behind Gale Force, but it's not looking good for them right now.
It's something that is becoming more and more frequent with Rocket League in general as an esport. It's because it's quite a young esport. I don't think anyone in the scene right now knows how to be the top dog. They know how to chase that role. They know how to go, all right, this is what we need to do. This is who we need to catch. But once they become first, they don't know how to lead the pack, and that means that they start dropping down pretty quickly.
Yeah, other than NRG, there's almost no team, I feel like, who is very good at staying at the top. Just like you said, it's easy to shoot up through the ranks, but then to sit on top of them, to sit on Mount Kronovi and look down. I mean, even Kronovi, who says he wants to be the dude sitting at the top of the mountain, struggles to actually get to the top of the mountain at all at this point right now.
He's been at base camp for a few seasons.
Yeah, exactly. Just struggling to get to the top of his own mountain there. And it really is a difference. Like, it is a different mentality to stay at the top with all the pressure, with all the expectation. You know, on this show, we talk about NRG every single week, and to have that sort of pressure on you, like, how do you deal with that? You know.
But they can't do it in live setting nearly as often and nearly as strongly as they can in online settings. As soon as you hit them in a LAN, yes, this last LAN showing was their best performance, but they are still a team that we always look to take those top 2 spots. The only thing that stops us from predicting them there is strictly because of their, past experience at LAN, and that they just really can't pull it off. Also,
No, don't worry. I have it for you. But season 4, it's all about mountain method. That's what it's all about.
There you go.
Right there, bro.
There you go.
Let's go.
Mount Method.
Ready to go.
Mount Method. Mount Method. I'll take
Mount
it.
Method's probably better.
Do we want to rename
light
the Manfield Mountain?
Mount Method? I'm ready.
Manfield Method. There's Methfield.
Let's move on.
No, that's not a thing. Sorry. We're gonna say that was not what that was. Anyways, moving on again. The RLRS folks over on the other side of things. We talked about leftovers earlier and how their identity's been split, but right now down in the rival series, doing a great job, undefeated, one of 2 undefeated teams, the only team that's played 3 games there to stay undefeated. The leftovers, much like Fibian, a team that we expect in the RLCS, but right now dominating in the rival series.
And plus, they had a huge matchup this week. They played the Juicy Kids when they were 3-0 as well, and leftovers were 2-0. So that was a big win for them to show that, hey, we're top 2 and we want to come back and have a chance at the championship series. They're looking good right now. They still have 4 more games to go, but they probably need like 2 more wins to probably clinch a spot there.
Yeah, I think they've got the toughest games out of the way. I think at this point we can actually almost just agree that they are probably going to get those top 2. They've taken out the Juicy Kids. They've already beat those Supersonic Avengers. Sorry, those 2 teams very close to each other in terms of history, but I don't see anyone else there in that league that is really going to test them. So I think we can probably lock them in for a top 2.
Alrighty, well, looking forward to week 3 from Europe here and looking at what games will be happening. We've finished our weeks of 5 games, and now we're moving into weeks where we have 6 games a day, or 6 matches a day here. Few key matchups to point out. For me, the big one is Flipside versus Frontline. That was a classic Farah versus Flipside in week number 1. That was when their whole kind of reverse sweeps and RLCS things started. So I'm excited to see Frontline playing again, especially up against Flipside.
But we also see Mocket. They started 0-1, barely losing to Frontline. They have to play Flipside and Team Envy. So Envy is trying to bounce back as well. And Flipside, we still aren't sure exactly where to put them. This is a good chance for Mocket to come out with a big 2-0 and say, hey, we're still here and we're still trying to fight for that top 2 because they only have 1 loss. So they still have a lot of games to play and can fight for that top 2.
You also notice Method there not listed anywhere. They have a bye week this week, so they will, at least for week 3, get to sit nice and clean and pretty on the top. No one's going to catch them. No one's going to be able to beat them. I mean, I think Frontline could get up to 4-0 here if they were to get 2 wins, but still, it's going to be Method up on the top. They are in such a great place right now. This has been Method's week.
So we get a break from the Method masquerade.
They had to get one more in there, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, overtime's just getting started. We got a lot of great segments coming up here for you guys. When we come back, Pick'ems, fantasy, how good casters are at telling the future. It's going to be all about that. We'll have that and more when we come back from the break. Don't go anywhere. It'll be great.
You were perfection, I was the mess. I lacked emotion, you did your best. I was behind you through every step. You lost your way and you fell instead. Fell instead. Fell instead.
Welcome back to Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. We've finished the quick chat. We've talked about weeks 1 and 2. We got week 3 to look forward to. But here at week 2, we've all been doing predictions. We've all been doing fantasy. We've been doing all these things to get to this point. So it's time to check in and see where we're all at.
Can we not?
Can we not?
Please?
Yeah.
Can we definitely do it?
You want to do it?
Oh, of course I want to do it.
You want to do it? Let's look at the standings. Who's at the top of the pick'ems right now? Axel Toss, Lawler, and Shogun all tied. Oh, Yummy Cheeseman as well.
And he doesn't even watch NAEU. He's OCE and he's still doing 2 games better than me. That's how bad I am at pick-up during league play.
We need to stop. We need to make sure Lawler does not get first this season.
Yes, he got first.
I'm not. It's dumb. Okay, I was in first the entirety of season 3, like the entire time, and then it was the very, very last day, like the last 2 matches. I think Lawler passed me because like I predicted there was one wrong that he predicted the other one.
To be fair, this season, if you come in first, I just assume you probably don't know anything because of all the upsets and random things that are going on. I'm like, oh, you're in first? You must have just been rolling the dice every time because that's what it's turned into for a lot of this season. I swear, like, I look at a matchup, I'm like, I mean, this team should win, right? I'm like, no. Reverse
the best
sweep.
part is when me and James are up here, he is way too competitive. You will watch him watch these games, and he will be rooting for the team that he picks so hard. It'll be game 5 overtime. I'm sitting there, I'm just like, all right, whatever. Let's see what's going on and analyze it. He's sitting here cheering just because he picked the team on Pick'em because he wants to win everything.
And we saw at the very bottom there, Quinn Lobdell, he cannot shout his way through analysis. Turns out you actually have to know something.
I'm not going to go there because I'm right there in the middle, you know, so you got to know something.
We're in
sort
second.
Of, but
That's
you
not
know,
middle.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We're ahead of Gibbs.
Wait,
Gibbs
I'll
knows a lot.
apologize. I was punching low, roughly where he was actually on the leaderboard, but...
To get to Quinn, you have to punch down through everybody who's below you, and I'm like, you know, just I don't know if this is really a good idea, you know.
The worst is when it's like game 5 and the team loses in overtime. You're like,
Yeah.
It's just not fair. It's
No.
not fair. It's like, all right, I was the only one to choose Mocket. It was like me and James, and like
Yeah.
everyone chose Frontline, and Frontline wins Game 5 overtime. Like, oh, yeah, he was completely wrong.
Cool,
Like,
yeah,
no,
man.
I'm so close.
Clearly, Wavepunk was a much more intelligent person than me because
The worst
he was able to
ones
predict that.
are the reverse sweeps, where you got your team 2-0 up, and you're like, I've done it, I'm an absolute monster,
Yeah.
I know my method.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Shh. No.
I was happy that I did actually predict Flipside to win, or I predicted Method to beat Flipside, and then they go up by 2, and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, gonna get a loss in the column right away on day number 1, and then nope, Method's like, we got you, man.
It was all for you, most likely.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, we gotta do it for Wavepunk.
What's really funny is I make the predictions and then I forget them entirely. I make the predictions like right before we go into it because we have to make them at the beginning of the day, and I sit there and I think about it, I deliberate in my head, and then I just it's gone.
Yep.
So a team wins, I'm like, did I pick them? Did I just win that one? I have no idea. I don't know who I picked for.
I don't know what happened.
Whatever.
See, that's the worst part is I have to know all my picks, and then they're mostly wrong. So everyone's like, oh, yeah, why do you predict Envy over Flipside? Why don't we bring Doomsy in as an analyst? I'm like, yep, because that's it. It's just pick 'em. That's all that matters, guys.
Yeah. What was the Pashy tweeted after Sunday was over about this, like, casters really should just flip a coin at this point because there's just no other way. It is that close right now in Europe. Like, pick'ems are so hard, and especially weeks 1 and 2 are the most brutal because it's like, all right, I'm supposed to predict a team that I've seen play one time in League Play right now, and it was a 5-game series, and who knows how it's actually going to go, and I got to tell you who they're going to win the next 2 games.
I must admit, it kind of because both regions got their own difficulties on this. You either have got EU where everyone's really close, but you've seen them, like you can at least go and look and go, okay, they played this week, and this week, so I can kind of figure out where everything kind of stands. But then you got NA where you're kind of aware, all right, they're a little bit more spread out. It's a little bit easier to predict, but I haven't seen them play ever since the last RLCS season. So both regions have got their own difficulties.
It's the worst. But if Pick'ems is bad enough for me and you right now, it gets worse here in a second. Let's go over to the fantasy standings and where people are on this one right now.
See, I can't even be happy about number 2 because James Bot is number 1 in the world.
In the world.
And that
right
is
now.
the worst thing for all of us here.
Yeah,
no one
no.
wants that.
But we do know he's going to have to get knocked down because you're only allowed 1 sub per week.
He has made some mistakes.
So he will have all right, let me defend. I'm gonna give 2 statements out. I'm gonna defend myself here at the bottom. The first week, I'm making my fantasy. I wasn't originally gonna do it. Gibbs pressured me last second. He's like, hey, you've got like an hour till deadline. Do your fantasy.
Yep.
I'm like, all right. So I'm ready to handicap it. That's whatever. I'll let that slide. And then I shout out to one of any of you. I'm like, hey, do you guys know if OCE plays this week? And Wavepunk says, yeah, they play this week. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna get Drippe, who I think is the most expensive person in the entire league. Guess who doesn't play in week 1? OCE. So I have 0 points for the most expensive player in the entire league in week 1. So now all my challenge is that anyone who loses to me is terrible.
And then the
so
worst
I just
part-
want to try and get above all you one at a time.
To be fair, you asked the people you're competing against, hey, help me make my team. Is this player playing? And someone said, yeah.
I wouldn't expect sabotage from you guys. I look better.
Look, the
on
worst
you.
part is, too, I was a carpet. No one else shows OCE. We're an NA and EU show. Let's stick to NA and EU players. It's like, fine. So you even transferred him, I think,
So
too,
now
right?
what? The
Yeah,
second week after I got 0 points at him, there's $875 for 0 points for a week. Thanks.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
I'm the bottom bar now. If you lose, like now, you guys just have to make sure you're above me.
Yes,
Because I
but my
started
team-
off with the biggest handicap of all time.
My team
Carpet
is
in
looking
this
good.
league, whenever you go for the high jump, you've got the bar and you've got the crash mat. Carpet is the crash mat.
I thought you
No,
said
I'm the
Quinton's.
ground under the crash mat. Like someone forgot to put the crash mat there, and you broke a leg.
I spent like an hour or 2, like, really thinking through, like, all right, which players do I want and everything, and then for like weeks 1 and 2, and I thought I had good players, I thought I had a good team set up, and then we had just some players just not have the stats that they wanted to have. Like, I've got like Turbo on my team, and of course he's with like 2 godly players, right? So like predicting which player in Gale Force is going to be the one that makes a lot of points. Well, it wasn't Turbo this week, so he's down at the bottom, but the one player right now who's consistently getting me points is Garrett G. He's been doing well. If you're looking for someone to pick up and you don't have Garrett G, go get Garrett G right now. Both weeks I think he's been in the top 10, doing a lot of work for the North American.
And now he has a new baby brother as well. So
does.
congrats to Garrett G and the fam over there. But he's been going absolutely nuts. And I was a little worried about him because he is that third wheel, or at least the one that probably gets the least ball touches between Jacob and Fireburner. But he's been stepping up on the offensive end, just going in hard. And Fireburner and Jacob, relatively quiet so far in fantasy.
I may have made a big whoopsie doodle last week.
What?
I made a carpet. I woke up at like 4 a.m. and went, oh, pick 'em. I need to change this right now. I went in, I removed Garrett and replaced him with J-Naps, who wasn't even playing. But somehow my sub came in. Tylacto, you did me good, buddy. He's kept me in the lead. Somehow I'm third.
But the #1 player out of all fantasy is Gimmick.
Our boy!
And he's extremely cheap. So if you are looking to pick up a player, watch out because he has a bye week coming up. But like if you have other players to get rid of or have buys, pick up Gimmick because he's #1 right now. He is going out of his mind. He's in the run right now, probably the favorite for North America MVP. And that usually leads to really good fantasy numbers.
He can be the North American rookie, too.
I think the one place I went right is I've had both Gimmick and Garrett G on my team both week 1 and week 2. So at least I did something right.
Problem is you're playing 5
Aside
players.
from chucking a quarter of my budget out the window for no apparent reason.
But then also, all the way at the bottom, we have Axel Toss. He's like, what, 9th I think, right now? Not doing too good. I heard he was trying to study a bit.
Have you seen the way he studies? You want to watch the way Axel Toss studies for
Let's have a look.
for pick'ems here? This is what happens when Axel Toss is like, I need to watch them.
Just sits at the big screen, trying to analyze.
It gets better.
There he is. Getting closer. It's not going to help, Axel. I'm sorry.
This is going to get
It looks,
photoshopped into
it
looks
looks
photoshopped.
photoshopped. It's amazing.
Just stand still the entire time.
That is actual footage of Axel Toss.
And that's every single game. Like,
Yeah.
he will
Yeah.
leave the hostess
He'll-
and just stand right there. Like, it's right to the right.
I've done this. There's once or twice I've hosted, right? And I've like gotten up and done. I'm gonna do the Axel Toss thing. So I walk and I stand. You can get vertigo like standing in front of the screen that close, and then when like a player like switches off a ball came and then looks behind him, you're just like, whoa, like because it's such a big screen.
Maybe he's training for like some sort of skydiving thing.
He's just
or
getting
like
as close as he can.
some sort of pilot.
It's funny.
training.
As close as he's getting, maybe he needs to get closer. See where it's all the way down
Do you
there.
think he plays like that? Just stood up?
No, he is angry. He is an angry man.
That's true.
Although-
but he's playing with a 50-inch TV right on his
It's
wall
also
right
funny,
next
like we were talking earlier about how you become a statue when you're just like sitting here watching. Like watch Gibbs watch this amazing, what I assume was a great play happen here. Is like, oh,
That's all you get out of it. That's also the same exact thing when my wife has a conversation about her work. That's about it. That's all I do.
Is it just white noise to you right now? A double tap is a white noise
That's it.
goal.
I'm just analyzing, man.
that happened. Okay, cool.
If it's not the team that he picked for Pick'em, he's just like James. He's like,
Yeah, that was probably a game 5 overtime goal. It's like, oh, my team lost.
That was method winning right there.
that was method winning their second reverse sweep. Gibbs like, nice. Good job, guys.
Well done.
Let me tell you about IBP Cosmic.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we will update you guys as we move forward through the season on how the pick'ems are going. We have to move it forward.
I'll pass
but
James.
it's been great. When we come back, guys, player accolades for the season. We gave them out last season. Gonna give them out again. We'll give you an update on who's in the lead and all of the runnings and what they are and everything. If you're new for it, it'll be a lot of fun. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to RLCS Overtime, where all the points are made up, and it doesn't matter because, you know, standings are just a thing for what is a standing, you know?
Gotta miss
Who cares?
You know, so yeah.
We don't need it.
Don't need to talk about standings. What does matter, hard facts and hard numbers here. The players are all playing for different sorts of accolades, different sorts of awards at the end of the season based on their performance. Did them last season. Well, and if you weren't here, we'll get you caught up on how it all works here. Starting off with the Golden Striker. This is an award that we're going to award to the most offensive players, awarded to the clinical finisher who records the most goals per games in league play for their region. You can see Fireburner down there, won it for North America. Cooks here from Europe, and from OCE, it was Drip A, Carpet's favorite pick from week number 1, Fantasy, that earned him no points.
I'm sure if he had played, he would have gotten me so many points.
Yep.
But, you know, they wouldn't let him play. They were holding him back.
But right now, Fireburner was a back-to-back goals per game champion, Season 2, Season 3. He's not even in the top 5 right now, but Gimmick is leading by a lot, and he's also played 3 series. So some of these guys are going to play 1 series, and their average is probably more high, like a high variance. So it could be extremely high or extremely low. So Gimmick right now is looking pretty good for that Golden Striker in North America, at least.
Yeah, Gimmick at 1.45, and then Matt and Sizz are tied for kind of down there at the bottom of the top 5 at 0.94.
I find that the funniest one. That Matt and Sizz are both tied in 4th
Yeah.
place. Like they're
twins.
They play pretty much the same role with each other. They're just passing it to each other back and forth, which really, as I guess, a really cool showcase of like how evenly they really do distribute the play styles of whether they're passers or strikers. Like,
Yep.
we know you can do it, so they're just perfectly tied at 4th
Yeah, why
place.
not?
It's pretty great.
So now moving on, you know, the thing that helps out the shooter is going to be the playmaker here, awarded to the cunning player who records the most assists per game in league play for their region. Fireburner won the Striker Award last season for North America, so it's only fitting that Jacob would win the assists. And Mystic, who is now on the same team as Cooks here, was not last season though, so that
Almost worked.
doesn't quite work out there. And Express won it over there for Drip A.
Yeah, we see this season, we saw the fact that just a second ago, Matt and Matt and Sizz, I should say, very high up on the shooting. 3rd place right now on the assists per game is Insolences, who is just giving them every single opportunity to try and go for those shots.
And we didn't mention it on the EU side. Right now, Pesci #1 in Europe for goals. And then no surprise, he's got Fairy Peak tied at 1st for assists as well. So those guys
Again,
clearly working
1
in
series.
That,
Yeah.
that
They've only-
is definitely not the most accurate stat.
They've only played the 1 series, but still, it's impressive. Actually, Pesci has he's leading the entire league right now at 1.6 goals per game. But again, as I said, only 1 series. We'll get to see him play some more here in week 3, and excited to see where they go now. Moving over to the defensive side of things, how does the saves work? Savior of the season is awarded to the player who racks up the highest amount of saves per game in league play for their region. Memory and won it for North America. That was on Set to Destroy. Fricky from Penta in Europe, and then Outlast from OCE. And commonly, as we've talked about down through the seasons, this is an award it's a good thing to see the players doing, but it's almost an award you kind of almost don't want to have because it means that you're having to play a lot of defense. You know, Memory on Set to Destroy, they had a pretty lackluster season and they had to play so much defense that they end up racking up the most saves there.
Yeah, so for both North America plus Europe, they didn't make playoffs. But this season, Magnus right now, I think he's in 4th right now in saves per game, and Method is 4-0. So sometimes saves are good, but you got to make sure you save all of them. That's the problem. So right now, Method is doing that job. We'll see if that continues going
And
forward.
Classics is leading over here for North America right now, and they're sitting undefeated right now, having defeated NRG. Again, only really playing 1 series, so the stat doesn't matter as much. But pretty cool stuff to see that these guys are, you know, racking up those numbers, and we'll see how they look as we move through the season as we go on. But also want to talk about OCE here. Don't really talk about the OCE players all that much, so we're going to see what Yummy has to say about the OCE accolades.
G'day everyone, I'm going to give you my predictions on the player accolades for Season 4 and OCE. Of course, CJ is going to definitely take the Golden Striker Award, one of the best strikers in the OCE region right now. For the clutch playmaker, you can't go past Jake from Chiefs eSports Club. He can connect with Torsos and Drip A excellently. They always know where each other are. For the Goalkeeper Award, I can't go past Zest, who is on Noisy Isn't Toxic, one of the rising teams, but he knows where to be. He's always ready for defense. And then, of course, for my MVP award, I have to go with potentially the best player in the region right now, Express from Jam Gaming.
Thanks so much, Yummy Cheese Man. You heard him there at the end talking about the MVP award. North American Europe has that as well, given out to the player who contributed the most to their team success in league play for their region. Jacob was the North American MVP. KDOP, the European last season. And NRG, you can see that they dominated the awards here for North America, and in many ways still on course to do it again. But this is the most difficult season they've had. If there was ever a season where I could see somebody taking it from them, Cloud9 possibly, this might be the season.
And plus, like, this isn't based on stats necessarily, so we can be bought. Simple as that. Because we vote for the MVP. Just throw us some money on PayPal. We'll be good to go.
Have some decency.
Just earn me points on my fantasy team.
Exactly. There you go.
So something that I've noticed too, and this could just be mostly because I'm in games, but we see a lot more games that are like 1 goal, like 1 to 2, and then like 6 to 4 or 3. So a lot of times I feel like that, especially the goals stat, I don't want to say is skewed, but I think it's going to be much more difficult for teams that like to keep the low scoring, less, I don't know, risky style plays. So the teams that like to play a little safer are the ones that are like, they might not end up on the goals, but they still can end up on assists per game or saves in that kind of sense potentially. I don't know. It's really hard to say, but things are
they could.
different.
It's going to be much larger this season because there's been a lot more goals per game than we've been used to seeing. It's been a lot higher scoring. I don't know if the defense is going to start tightening up or anything like that, but I'm only surprised we saw multiple players above 1 goal per game this season.
Yeah, well, we'll see how things progress as the season heads along. Definitely stay tuned to Overtime if you want to stay updated with accolades and all of that. Guys, it's been a great show. Got one more segment. Gonna have some fun. Haven't already had enough fun, I guess. Like, dislikes coming up. Everybody's favorite game show. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great show, but we're always like to finish here with a game segment, or do we dislike finishing with a game segment? Like or dislike? That's the name of the game. If you haven't seen us play this game before, basically I'm going to say a statement. I'll probably call it a question because I'm a silly person, but I'll say a statement, and then we put out our thumbs, and we put them up if we like the statement, and we put it down if we dislike the statement, and then we argue for a long time, and it's great, and nobody wins. All the best games function that way. You guys ready?
I'm ready to not win.
Dislike.
Yeah. Dislike? You dislike winning?
I'm practicing. I'm good to go.
He dislikes winning. You would know that by watching him play Rocket League. Statement number 1 here. Nice. There will be a 7-0 team in NA this season. Okay? There will be a team that goes undefeated. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh man, I'm the only one who's believing.
So which team? Wave?
Come on, Wave.
I mean, Cloud9 is the only, like, they're kind of the only team that's like got the best run of it right now.
I mean,
two other teams that are 1-0
this week.
They're playing the undefeated teams. If they come out of this week, I believe in Cloud9 right now. If they come out of this week undefeated, then I think they've got it in the bag.
But the problem is the Kings of the North they have a loss, and they still have to play Cloud9. I feel like Energy will probably beat Cloud9, and that'll be Cloud9's one loss, and they will tie at the top. That's
this all pretty much comes down to who you're predicting in that series. I'm predicting NRG for that. You're predicting wrong. So we've all got our own strategies.
I think it can happen. I just think it can happen. I just want to believe. Next statement here. Dapper will have 5 or more goals here in week 3. Renegades will be playing both the winless teams, so that's kind of just a thing to factor in here. Okay, you guys ready? Dapper, 5 goals in week 3. Ready, set, go. Okay.
Hey!
We all agree.
It's because we're all fans of Dapper, I think, and we want to see everyone succeed at least a bit. 0 goals per game right now. It's a little rough for Dapper. The only problem is if they do well and they just get a 6-0 sweep, 3-0 and 3-0, it's a little tough to score 5 goals. I think the series will be competitive versus FlyQuest at least.
Yeah.
And that one could go pretty far. But Dapper, that's the only way Renegades will show up at all this season, so I expect him to show up here.
He has a possibility of 10 games next week, so I think there's a decent chance. There's a very decent chance he's going to make it, especially with, like you said, he's playing the winless teams right now.
Yeah.
There's a very good chance that Dapper can get there. We all agree with that one. There's no argument to happen. Moving on. Next statement here. Ghost is a world championship level team here. 1, 2, 3, go. Oh,
I was actually up on this one.
You were up on this one?
Shogun was up on this
I
one.
put L
He
here,
can't
and I
remember.
thought L meant loss.
This is why it's
That's
fun to
funny.
do these, because they're so tough. They're so close.
Yeah, they are. But, okay, here's my thing with Ghosts.
Okay. All
I
right.
think
Let's
I
hear it.
loved what they did. They were awesome, but the one win isn't enough for me. They've got to do it at least one more time against another team that we consider the top 3. If they beat Cloud9, absolutely I'm in. But at this point, just beating NRG wasn't enough to convince me that they're going to be a world
It's
championship.
like, they still have to show me more. It was a great first showing, but it's a 1-0. And it's going to come down to one best of 7. They're going to be a quarterfinal team, and we'll see who they get to play. I would love to see them versus FlyQuest. So Lethamyr versus his 2 teammates. And then we could see FlyQuest taking it again. Sad Jr. on keyboard mouse in playoffs.
You got something to say? You got something to say here?
Well, I'm kind of surprised I didn't have to say something sooner, considering I'm the one that disagreed. Look, every single time we go to a World Championship, NA has one team that we're not quite as sure on.
Okay.
So I've got to take a pick here from 5 potential teams. They're the ones that have convinced me the most.
Which is why they won't make it, because that's how NA works. It's always
Yes.
the team that convinces you, and then some other team kind of fills that 4th spot.
So it's going to be
why
Allegiance then.
I don't think Allegiance can
It's going
make
to be
it.
Renegade.
Don't think it can be. Lethamyr says we got to stop doubting them. Lethamyr, do it one more time, and I'm on board with you there. Next
I ain't got no
statement.
doubt in my body.
All right, Shogun, you've convinced Shogun already. Well done. Next statement here. G2 finishes above Ghosts in league play. So, a little bit simpler here. G2 going to finish above Ghost in league play. 1, 2, 3, go. All righty.
All right, Shogun, what?
Shogun again.
You just love Ghost.
Yeah, apparently
Or
so.
do you hate G2?
Now I'm sticking. Like this is me sticking with what I previously said, of which I think they're going to make it in. Well, I think they're going to go 3rd in the entire league play. I think G2 will take the other place.
4th.
Yeah, 4th.
Okay. That's the other one.
Yeah, it's outside of the medal spots, but I think that's just how it's going to go down. I think that's how it's going to be in league play, and then they're both. Okay, I can see.
I really want to.
G2 in playoffs. I don't know. I've never. No point have I ever seen G2 in a must-win game and go, you know what I'm confident in today? You know what I'm
If
going
there
to
was
bet the
ever a
house on.
season, I feel like season 4 is the best they've looked so far. But again, this is also, we're talking about the 2 teams who are both 1-0 right now. So only seen them play one time. I'm putting my faith in G2.
Same.
It's the same question as last time. You know,
Like
just
JNaps.
do it one more time and I'll believe in them.
Yeah, JNaps is the best player between those 6
Yes.
players, and I think he can get them that 3rd seed at least, maybe even a possible 2 seed. They play Cloud9 this week. They could take them down in a small upset. So I'm going G2 here.
All right. So next statement. Moving over to Europe here. Method is the best team in the world. In the world right now.
Holy.
1, 2, 3, go. Gibbs is
Gibbs,
on
all
right.
So
All right,
my
come
thing
on.
is like
2 good weeks is all it takes?
Who else is it? Like,
right.
who could you put? Like, my only argument would be maybe Cloud9, maybe NRG. You can't give it to anyone else in Europe right now because they've all looked not that great.
I will say this to you, and this is the way I looked at it when I was originally saw this question, is that if it was just the RLCS, yes, Method are currently the best RLCS performing team. But
Okay.
GFE
Keep going.
overall, if I was to have Method and GFE play 10 times, they would win 7.
But lately, Gale Force eSports has not looked great outside of the RLCS either. They lost in the quarterfinals in Gfinity. They've looked extremely shaky, so that's why I'm putting Method above them now.
I see where you're going with this, but we're talking about the RLCS. And the way the RLCS is set up is you have to win here, and you get one chance to beat teams. They beat Gale Force, and as much as I can see the point you're making of like, oh, if they played 10 times, Gale Force would win 7 times. But the only time that mattered was the time that happened last week. I feel like it's Cloud9 though.
Oh, okay.
I'm going with Cloud9
I
on
can
this
accept that as an answer.
See, here's the thing, though, is that Method has never quite managed to, and this is like another scenario thing if I'm putting them in here. Regular season, I think they're going to do very well. They have never managed to pick up that big win when it mattered. And I get the feeling
They got like 2 already this season.
No. I'm talking like end of season, playoff scenario, or grand final sort of scenario. I put someone above them.
We'll see if they can pull it off as the season progresses. You heard it here from Shogun. Going to move on to the next statement here. I don't think I've called it a question yet, which is good. This is the first time here. Envy and Gale Force both missed top 2 in Europe. So talking about teams, we're talking about Gale Force is the best team in the world. I feel like I already know where Shogun's going to say on this one. Ready?
Really?
Really. Put the thumb up, man. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, go.
All right. So you think Frontline is going to make the top 2? That's the only other one that could do it, probably. Unless you're thinking flip side.
I'm not thinking flip side on that. This is the one that I was very 50-50 on overall. I think Frontline might make it there. I just don't know. GFE is not having a great season. They're not playing well in the RLCS. Envy is not having a great season. They're not playing well in the RLCS.
So who are your top 2 right now?
Yeah, it has to be Frontline.
It has to be Frontline, apparently.
It's very,
I've learned this myself. I'm putting Frontline number 2. I've learned something myself.
I can see Frontline. I can see both. But I to say that both these teams are going to miss out top 2 in week 2, I just can't say that right now.
Yeah, week number 5, it's Gale Force versus Envy for the final game of the season. And I think Gale Force will have enough wins around that time that they just have to beat Envy, and they will get the spot. I think Envy might be one of those teams in the 4 or 5 range, but whoever wins that matchup will likely get a top 2. I'm still not sold on Frontline. They've had 2 5-game series.
We'll get to see them again in week number 3. We're going to do the next question real fast here. A caster will have a perfect EU Pick'em week. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. You're so
Absolutely
wrong.
Not.
You're so wrong. Nope, moving on.
There is a reason why we've got this, and it's because I am here to get it all right.
It's Shogun's just full of it right now. Final question. Final question. Frontline will be 4-0 after next week. Shogun, you better be consistent on this one. 1, 2, 3, go.
Yes.
Let's go.
We're all going Frontline versus flip side. They will win it.
Frontline hype train is real right now. I cannot wait to see Farah do it the flip side again. If flip side is able to pull it out, that would be a great turnaround for them. But at this point, after the way they played last week and the way that the fire that is under Frontline right now, have to believe in Frontline.
Yes, I like Frontline a lot here because they're playing Flipside and Team Secret, but I think later on it'll be a little rough.
Absolutely. But guys, it's been a great show of Overtime here. Had a great time. Tune in on Friday for the Rocket League Rivals Series, 11 a.m. Pacific, and on Saturday, check out North American League play at 12 p.m. Pacific right here on twitch.tv/Rocket League. It's been a great one. See you later. Have a great day.